to introduce at this time Senator Ernst from Iowa. The core mission of EPA is protecting human health and the environment, and there was a thorough, extensive vetting that took place in senators deciding whether or not to vote for the president's nominees for these different cabinet posts. And the most controversial part of my vetting actually never became public, but now that I'm confirmed, I'm willing to admit this to the entire world. So Sarah Talmadge, who's here, she's our Assistant Administrator for the Office of Congressional and Intergovernmental Relations. But in her past life, she was driving as we're going through Iowa after an event for President Trump, and we're driving towards Des Moines, and it was my job on this trip to figure out where we were going to grab dinner. And I used to follow this embarrassing practice, especially embarrassing now that I'm about to admit it in front of the public. Fortunately, at the end of the story, I'll tell you, Senator Ernst she's inviting me back to Iowa to correct this wrong. So what I would do is I would check out best restaurants in Des Moines, Iowa. And then whichever one has the highest rating, as long as they have enough ratings, how bad can it be? And the moral of this story is don't get sushi in Des Moines, Iowa. And when I shared this story with Senator Ernst and Senator Grassley and Governor Reynolds, it was a trifecta of eroding support. Now I share it with the world. Senator Ernst has provided us incredible guidance in this post as EPA Administrator, and I'm grateful for her support during the confirmation despite this controversial vetting. And without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Senator Joni Ernst from Iowa.
Yeah, Senator Kramer was just talking about common sense. Sushi in Des Moines is not common sense. But I do have some great recommendations. We are known for really good farm home cooking. Yes, folks, you all know this quite well, that Iowans have really had a lot of whiplash going through WOTUS in the last many number of years, as Chair Bozeman had expressed. And what we call this is regulatory whiplash. And we really do have to stop this. I'm the daughter of a small family farmer in Iowa. He is a small business owner, and much like every Iowan out there, we're tired of going through extraordinary changes that affects daily lives and businesses. And I'm so proud to be here, and thanks to President Trump for setting the record straight on this, as well as Administrator Zeldin. You do still owe me a lot after the sushi thing. But ever since my first year in Congress in 2015, I have been fighting against WOTUS. And the very first bill that I ran and managed on the floor of the United States Senate was my first year in the United States Senate in 2015. And that bill was to nullify the Obama-era WOTUS rule. It did pass through the Senate with bipartisan support. It passed through the United States House with bipartisan support. It was Obama's rule. So, of course, when it hit his desk in the Oval Office, he vetoed it. So I still believe I hold the record for the most number of bills that have been vetoed by President Obama. I think I had 2 that were vetoed. One was the WOTUS overturn. So, again, it was successful. It was bipartisan at that time. We saw that this was an egregious federal overreach for our small business owners, our farmers, our ranchers, and really every industry across the face of the United States. But what we saw then during the Biden administration was a doubling down on those efforts. And in my home state of Iowa, many of our Iowa farmers were fined because of misunderstandings about WOTUS, or again, the regulatory whiplash that they were experiencing. So for far too long, we have seen this grip of federal government really impacting daily Iowans' lives, Americans' lives. They've threatened our communities, threatened our livelihoods. And so I am really grateful that President Trump is righting this wrong and bringing more common sense back into the regulatory environment, especially surrounding our waters of the United States. So again, I want to give great thanks to President Trump and his administration, and most particularly to Administrator Zeldin and his team for listening so closely, not only to our constituencies, but the members of Congress, those that really rely on the federal government to do the right thing. And in this example, I am so proud to say that the federal government, through President Trump, through Administrator Zeldin, is doing the right thing. So thank you again, Lee, so much for your hospitality and for actually listening to our constituencies.